Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you the first revision of the Sonoma release channel template. So this has been a while in the making, since June of this year, when we first released our developer beta 1 template, and now we're officially on the final release. So this is RC2 after the update that Apple released, so it's basically the latest version. So how do we get this template? So if you go over to the HSVU website, which is hsvu.org, and then you go to the navbar item that says HSVU Hackintosh, click on that, and then scroll down to macOS ISOs and HSVU templates. Open that, it'll take you to a downloads page, and then you can see HSVU Sonoma's here. It says coming soon for me because obviously I've not edited the website, but for you it'll just say this, a customized HSVU OCT, which is one-click template. When you click on that icon, it'll take you to a page just like this, and you'll be ready to start downloading. Now, there's two different ways to do it. So there's a direct download and a torrent. So I personally use torrents. So I'll just show you an example here. So on my Synology, if I go to download station and go back here and download the torrent file, so 3 dots, download, I'll go to my downloads folder. Now if I go to plus, browse, and then browse for the file, you won't be able to see me browsing for that, but I browsed for the file, double clicked on OK, and it's 2.1 gigabytes, which is great. Again, if you want to learn more about the size, please do visit my last video where I covered that. If I now click create, it'll then begin pulling the metadata, and then eventually it'll start downloading. So I'll just show you that in action once it's actually downloaded. It shouldn't again take too long, and the more of you that download it, the quicker it gets. Because there's not many, obviously it's just me and the Discord moderator Tor downloading it, it'll take quite a while, but it should pick up very shortly. So here's the direct download, so it obviously downloads directly to your Chrome. Sometimes it's quicker to do it this way, if it's the right way for you. If you just don't want to use a torrent client, you can do that. I'm still not getting full speed here, but my NAS is currently doing a backup, my Proxmox server, so it will take a bit longer. As you can see, it's speeding up a little now. So I won't keep you waiting 55 seconds, so I'll see you in a moment. So you can see that that's finished downloading now. So I won't go through the steps that you need to copy it over to the server because I've already spent time on a guide for that. So if we go back to the HSVU Hackintosh page, again at the top navbar on the HSVU website, if we scroll down you can see copying over HSVU template. If we click on that, you've got a step-by-step guide on how to do it. So it tells you where to go, download a template like we just showed, and obviously how to copy it over. Once you've done that, we're ready for the next step, which I will show you now. So once everything's copied over, if you go to the local partition, you should have a backups part on there, or maybe for you it might be called local LVM, but for me it's under VM templates because I've done it from my NAS. But then you should see the 1019 template. Then you just click on restore, choose a volume to restore to, adjust your RAM, which I'll do, and then just click on restore. Now we're going to restore, and what I'll do just to save me time is I'll insert a video of what I did in the last video, as it's the exact same process for Ventura, but I will meet you on the Ventura setup screen. So see you in a moment. So you can see at the bottom it says task OK. Now if we go to that VM, you can see we have a notes section. So if we just click on that settings, we can read it all. So you can see you just skip all the Apple ID parts on the setup, read the readme file on the desktop, which I'll show you, and then if you're on AMD, which I am now because I've got a new server, I need to copy these arguments, which I'll show you. So if we Control C on them, and then go to shell on PVE, so clicking on PVE, shell, and then doing nano, /etc/PVE/QEMU server / and then you can see that that's 107 the VM ID, so we're putting 107.conf. Press enter, scroll down to where it says args, which is here, right here. Scroll down to that, put a comment it out with a hashtag, press space on balloon, and then it'll give you a space. Paste, Control X, Y, and enter to save, and now we're ready to boot up the machine. Now you can adjust the disk size before you install to a higher size, which I will show you how to do. So what you do is click detach on the existing disk, unused, click remove, so that'll permanently delete it, and then if we go to add hard disk, select VirtIO block, select the storage medium it's going to be on, and let's just say 250 gigabytes. Untick IO thread and tick discard, and then write back unsafe. Click on add. It might take a moment to add, usually, but once it's done, you need to go to options now, double click and make sure that VirtIO is ticked. Once it is, go to console and click start now. So now we have a new way, literally this time, to install macOS. So you can see we have a default bootloader. If we just press enter, macOS will then begin to load. It will take longer to load, which I'll explain of in a minute. So you can see that the installer is loaded. So if we go to disk utility, I'll try and make this bigger for you because it does scale down, but we're in disk utility. If we click on Apple Link VirtIO block media, erase, call it something, so I'm going to call it macOS, click on erase again, and then it's going to create the partition. Once it's done, click on done, go back and double click on reinstall macOS Ventura, or if you're using Monterey, reinstall macOS Monterey. Then on here we can click continue. It's going to take a minute to load. Again, I'll explain it once we start the installation, why it's taking quite a while. So let's wait for it to load the installation. Once it has, we need to obviously read the terms and agree to them. I've done that before, so I know what the terms are, so I can click agree, but again, do it at your own disclosure. So I'm clicking agree again, click on the macOS disk or whatever you called it, and click continue. Now you can see it says 2 hours, so you're probably like, what? Basically we're using an internet restore method now. So what it does, it downloads the macOS Ventura installer from the servers, and basically it jumps down to 12 minutes in a few moments, so it's nothing really to worry about. But basically all we do now is let this run. At some point it will reboot, so we just need to press enter, but I will show that in this video. So see you in a few moments. So after that's finished, it took around 20-25 minutes for that stage, because it has to download macOS Ventura. But after that stage, you'll receive a page like this. Just press enter on that. You'll get another Apple logo, and in a moment you will see that you'll get another minutes counter. So it's changed the resolution, and you can see if I just zoom in, scroll down a little, 29 minutes remaining. So we'll wait for that, and then I'll meet you back here. Again, you might get to the point where you need to press enter again. Usually this is the final time you need to press enter in the installer. The next time we do press enter will be on the actual full macOS installation, but again, it may reboot in a couple of moments, so let's wait for that. So as I just explained here, you can see it now just says macOS instead of macOS installer, and if you remember earlier on, we actually named the disk macOS. So basically, this is the final time that it's going to boot, and then we'll be in the setup screen. So I'm going to zoom in for you, so then you can see what I'm doing.
So do note here that the Sonoma setup screen is the exact same as the Ventura one. So I'll play the rest of this video through, so please enjoy.
As you can see, we're on the setup screen. So the setup screen may be a bit laggy. This is because we haven't got a GPU pass through, and also the built-in VirtIO drivers do not work until we're in the actual OS. So I need to scroll down to U. A common thing that you can do is click on one of them and then press U, and then it just scrolls down for you. So basically I'm going to select my country, United Kingdom, and then click on continue. Same principle for Monterey and Ventura regarding the installation process. Then I'm just going to click continue because that looks fine for me. But again, like I just said then, same process. I'm going to click not now on accessibility. That's obviously to your own disclosure. Data and privacy, I'm just going to click on continue. And then we're not going to transfer any data from Migration Assistant, so I'm going to click not now. Apple ID, remember we need to skip this. I'll explain why later. It again will ask you to skip again in a moment. Just click on skip. Once that's done, read the terms. I'm going to accept them. It'll ask you to accept twice, so after this one, agree again. Once that's done, create an account. Once that's created, we're going to be closer to the desktop. So you can see it is quite laggy. Once done, click on continue. And then it's going to create the account. This can take around 2 minutes. Depending on your speed, obviously mine only takes about 45 seconds, but it can take up to 2 minutes depending on the disk speed, among other factors. Then you can choose to enable location services. I'm not going to do that, but again that's to your own disclosure whether you want to do that. I'm just going to keep them off because I don't need them on, so I'm going to click don't use. Once that's done, it'll ask us again to select our time zone, which I'll do. Click on continue once I have. I'm not going to show analytics, again to your own disclosure, so if I click continue. Screen time, I'm going to set up that later because I don't need it on, again to your own disclosure. And then we're very close to the desktop. Choose your look. For this I'm going to keep it in light mode, just so it makes it better for you to see compared to dark mode. So it'll take a minute to change because again the graphics drivers and things, but once you're on the desktop it'll actually be decently quick. Once that's selected, we're going to click on continue, so let's just wait for it to select. So I've clicked on continue, and very shortly we'll be on the Ventura desktop. So if I just zoom out, you can see we're on the Ventura desktop. This keyboard setup assistant, I'm just going to skip it, but if we look up at about this Mac, it'll be a generic iMac Pro with no modifications. Now if we go to Finder at the bottom, and then you can see at the side under locations there's a HSVU folder. So there we have the getting started folder and the EFI. So if I double click into get started, we have the same folder. Now it won't let you open the getting started folder from this disk, so my common practice is dragging it into the downloads folder. This shouldn't take long, and once it's over, we're ready to actually start selecting what EFI we want and also generating an SMBIOS that we can then use to sign in with an Apple ID. So again, if I just zoom in for you, we have two folders in the get started. So first of all, we're going to go to tools and double click in there, and then you can see we've got an abundance of tools. If we click on open code configurator once, so it's highlighted, then right click open, this bypasses gatekeeper. So we can just click open, and once that's opened, if we look at the top on the menu bar, you can see tools. click Mount EFI. There'll be one EFI here, so it's not hard to miss. Click Mount Partition, type in the password, open the partition. It should be empty, and the tools folder should open as well. Now, on the tools folder, if we go back and then go to EFIs in that Get Start folder, you can see we've got 4 EFIs. So we have no GPU, so if you're not even going to pass through a GPU, you can see there's an EFI for you. Then you have native GPUs, legacy, and 5000, 6000 series GPUs. So, how do you find out what your GPU categorizes as? Well, I'm going to show you that now. So, to find out, if you go to the HSVU website, and then go to HSVU Hackintosh, scroll down, GPU compatibility checklist, you can see here there's a lot of different things. So, we have the NVIDIA GPUs, which is the easiest to understand, but not necessarily more supported. But basically, all these cards are going to fall under the legacy NVIDIA EFI. And then you've got iGPUs, but we've not tested them. These are the only ones tested, which do have links to if you want to know how to do them. Then on the AMD side of things, we've got 2 options. So we have native GPUs and 5000, 6000 series. So all these here are native GPUs, as my mate Tor has put there. And then above that are 5000, 6000 CPUs. So, sorry, not CPUs, GPUs. So, all these are going to be under the 5000, 6000 series GPUs. I've got an RX 570, which is under native GPUs. And mine was an actual RX 580 2048 SP, but I had to BIOS reflash it to a 570. Now I know that it's a native GPU. If I double click on that zip folder, it'll extract automatically, and we can have a folder here. If we double click into that, there's an EFI folder within that. Drag that over to the EFI partition. So this should look exactly as it is. You don't want it to look like this inside the EFI folder. You want to look like EFI with an EFI folder in it. Once that's done, close everything. Go to the Mount EFI. You don't need to unmake the partition, but it's best practice for me. And now if we go to the Apple logo, shut down, and untick that because I don't like it, and click on shut down, we can now wait for it to shut down. Once it's shut down, go to hardware and remove these 2 IDE discs. So if I detach them both, you can keep them as your unused discs, but I'm just going to remove them like so. Once I've done that, I'm going to take a snapshot and call it clean install, and then call it clean install Ventura for YouTube. Just, give yourself a reference. Click take snapshot, done. So now you've got a snapshot that you can roll back to in case something goes wrong in the next step. So now we'll wait for macOS to boot. It should boot automatically. You shouldn't need to press macOS because we've got it, so it just does it automatically, like so. And we're going to just wait for it to boot. As you can see, we're booted in. If I put in the password and then load in, again I'll zoom in just to make it easier for you. I'll do that in a moment. If we go back to Finder, and now you can see at the side there's no locations because we've removed those. If we go to Downloads, Get Started, Tools, and open up Open Code Configurator again, this is where we can do our SMBIOS. So if we go to Tools, Mount EFI, Mount Partition, put in the password, Mount Partition again, double click into EFI, then double click into OC, and double click on config.plist. It'll then bring up another Open Code Configurator. To not get confused, just close the others. Once you've got all that sorted, you'll receive a window like this that'll say config.plist at the top. If we then go to platform info, we can then scroll down and choose whatever Mac model we want. So for this example, I'm going to choose a late 2018 Mac Mini. So if I click on that, and then now you can mess around with different things, so you can just spam the UUID and serial numbers, just so then you know that no one else is using it. We've done that, so now the SMBIOS is sorted. The other thing that I like to do to make it look more realistic is sort out the memory. So you can basically, if I go to type detail, unless you have ECC memory, just set it as synchronous and do the little X. The type, you can set this to what you want, but the maximum supported is DDR4, as no Macs have DDR5 yet. I'll just set it as LPDDR4, it really doesn't matter. Total width is always going to be 64, and so is the data width. And then I've not got any error correction. And then the form factor, it is DIMM in my real host machine, but I'm just going to set it to SODIMM. Then Mac Minis have two memory slots, the 2018 ones, so I'm just going to click the plus twice. You can see there's a speed and size, so if I just put in a speed like 3200 megahertz for both, and then if we look on our summary page, I've given this VM 8 gigs of RAM, so we're going to put two 4GB sticks in virtually, which is quite cool. So let's do that. You can set all the manufacturer and the part number, etc., where the bank is, the device, if you want to, but for speed today there's no point. So if I go to save, once it's saved it'll say some issues, but it is saved. Close that, and then if we look at about this Mac just before we reboot, it's set as iMac Pro 2017. Now if we reboot the machine, restart, and then wait for it to restart, I won't keep you waiting here. So we're back on the desktop. If I go to about this Mac now, and then zoom in for you, you can see it says Mac Mini 2018, 3.7 GHz quad core i7. The graphics isn't anything yet, but I'll explain more about that in a moment. And then 8GB 3200 MHz DDR4. Basically, what are the next steps? That's what you might be asking. So if you look at the new way links, there are actually a few things that I've not covered, and mainly it's GPU pass-through. So to pass through your GPU, you need to first of all make sure it's compatible. Once you've done that, go to the pass-through guide that Tor's put together, very nice of him, and that'll explain everything on what you need to do. You cannot, and I'll repeat it again, cannot skip any steps in this guide, because if you do, it won't work. But if you look at the getting started with HSV the new way, you can see it tells you how to get it running, just what I've explained in this video guide really. Again, if you prefer video guides, and then you're going to prep for the GPU pass-through, which is that. Boot it up, transfer the EFI, which I've showed in this video, and then actually passing it through, which Tor goes through at the bottom of this guide. So we'll tell you how exactly to do it with images, and then you should get something like this, which someone, Prater from our Discord server, this is what his looks like.
So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do please leave a like and consider subscribing, as we're almost at 5,000 subscribers. Also, make sure to visit our Discord server if you need any help, and we will help you there. There are a few ways to help, which you will find in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.